everybody. I'm Summer Kelly, the Executive Director of the Mother's Milk Bank of the Western Great Lakes, our Wisconsin and Illinois nonprofit Himbana accredited milk bank. And we are so excited to be joined by Lara Fields, an expert in pediatric nutrition. So Laura is a registered dietitian, and she has worked at some top-rated children's hospitals, including Comer Children's Hospital at University of Chicago and Lurie Children's Hospital right here in Chicago. So Lara, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here and also talking about one of my favorite topics. So happy to join.
We get so many questions about nutrition for pregnant and nursing moms. So I'm hoping you can help us address some of these questions today. So I think a really common question is there anything that moms should change diet-wise or nutrition-wise from the transition from pregnancy to being a nursing mom?
Yeah. So I guess first of all, moms to be, I guess, are very confused in terms of what to feed themselves. They a lot of times haven't really looked at their own nutrition in a while. And so when there's this new baby, it can be really overwhelming, mostly because there's this access of information nowadays from, social media to doctors, to friends and family. So it can be really confusing. Most importantly, in pregnancy and in nursing or breastfeeding, the nutrition needs are actually pretty similar. So the accommodation for growing this new baby is somewhat similar in terms of what we're also accommodating to produce breast milk as a new mom. So there's a few parts to it though that are super important, and I want to make sure that we address. And maybe first off is supplementation. I think that there is so much confusion about supplementation these days. There are a lot of things that are marketed to us, and as in pregnancy, folic acid is really crucial. And so making sure that we prevent any defects in our baby to make sure we're having folic acid. And this is something that we find in a prenatal supplement. Well, when we're transitioning to breastfeeding, that a lot of that nutrition that we need is really crucial too. So in terms of a supplement, I actually recommend continuing the prenatal supplementation. And most often, if we can, do it in a form that is food-based. I think it is really important. So there are many supplements out there, and many of which are food-based. So that just means that we can absorb them a little bit better. So making sure that we're continuing that prenatal supplement is a really crucial step.
That is great advice. And do you recommend a prenatal supplement that has DHA?
Yes.
I've heard that that's important for nursing moms. Is that true?
Exactly. Most definitely. I was going to add that in as well. So DHA is something that is really important for brain and eye development in our developing baby. And so making sure that we are getting a good source of DHA is crucial. So equally in pregnancy and in breastfeeding, we need to make sure that we're getting that DHA supplement. Now, DHA is found in fish, actually, but it's also found in vegetarian sources. Walnuts, flaxseed, chia seeds are abundant in this nutrient. And so there's a big concern about fish. And so a lot of moms are really nervous about having it. And so much so that many new moms are not choosing enough fish for their diet. And so it's even more essential to make sure that we're getting a DHA supplement. And Summer, I wanted to mention too, not all of these supplements are created equal. And so I mentioned that food-based is a really important part, but also making sure that a fish oil or a DHA is specifically free or low in contaminants. Our waters many times are high in different heavy metals like mercury, and many fish oil supplements may be a little bit higher in this mercury too. So looking for something that has been pharmaceutical grade and also third-party purity tested is a key important part that I'd love for new moms to look for.
Speaking of fish and seafood, are there any restrictions on the amounts or types of fish that a nursing mom should be consuming?
So there is a wonderful resource, and it's called Seafood Watch, and it's actually a resource from the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And this provides a list that has good or fish to avoid sources. And so I would encourage new moms to look at that list. And it's a PDF that can be downloaded from their website, actually. And it shows fish that may have higher levels of some of these heavy metals like mercury.
What was that website again where moms can research?
It's called seafoodwatch.org, if I can verify that. But it's the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and it's a resource from them that I think is a wonderful, very easy to understand resource too.
Okay, great. And so we talked about supplementation and seafood recommendations. What about hydration? So I'm a registered nurse, and we're kind of known for pushing a lot of fluids on new moms. Sometimes I think maybe a little bit too much. We're a little aggressive with our fluid recommendations. So what do you recommend for a breastfeeding mom?
Yeah. So, and I think hydration can be really confusing as well, just like everything else when you're a new parent. But in general, yes, fluid is important for just continuation of breast milk, but it isn't the only important factor. In general, with hydration, I would say making sure that we're having at least like 2 decent water bottles worth. And I say decent, meaning it's kind of hard to give a number because all of us are different sizes. And depending on our size, that's how much hydration we need, honestly. So I would say just a general recommendation, making sure maybe we're having like a 24 to 36 ounce volume of water a day. So I think just a quick tip without even classifying the quantity, maybe just have a water bottle that you enjoy drinking from and keep it next to you routinely through the day. Remembering that fluids are also in fruits and vegetables, and encouraging that for snacks and in addition to meals. Also having fluids that we enjoy. So maybe we're squirting a lemon or lime or throwing some cucumber in it that can make it a little bit more exciting. I think that's a way to motivate water, but also just keep it a little bit more fun and interesting.
That sounds really refreshing.
Yes, most definitely it is.
So speaking of fruits and vegetables, what are some of your go-to fruits and vegetables?
It's tough because I feel like just in my one-on-one client interaction, it's so fascinating because there are things that some people love and some people just don't, And so I think just in general, it's accessibility. I want to highlight, having things accessible to us makes it not so difficult. So frozen fruits actually are one of my favorite things to keep in our freezer, whether it's, berries or even cherries or mangoes. Some fruits that we can't really access sometimes all throughout the seasons, all year long. It can be great to have them in a frozen form and keep them in our freezer because then we can always access it. My go-tos for all produce would be seasonality, so buying things that are in season. So again, a nod to the frozen section because it's always available. So whether it's, cucumbers or carrots or celery or snap peas, jicama, like any of these veggies that can kind of stand up in our fridge for a couple of days that we can cut, put in a Tupperware, and then they're easily accessible. And again, remember these have fluids in them, so it's a great hydration food for our body as well. Veggies too. Veggies are one of those category of foods that many kind of push aside. Sometimes, especially in pregnancy, sometimes our cravings are salads are not working, or even adding extra veggies, warm veggies to the side sometimes might not sound so appetizing, but trying to keep things maybe as snacks or just adding that bulk, that nutrition is really helpful for weight management, maybe post-baby, but also just there's such vital nutrients, especially in these rich colors like dark green leafy lettuce or orange sweet potatoes or even like carrots or even cauliflower. there's that palate is really important to make sure that we're incorporating on a regular basis.
How many grams of protein do you recommend, or what are some protein recommendations that you have?
So protein is a really tricky one. And I would say mostly because there's just so much misinformation out there in terms of, what to recommend and how much to have. Protein has been this macronutrient darling, so to speak, in terms of, it's not carbohydrates, and carbohydrates have been demonized. And so protein is kind of our fan favorite these days. The reality is we should take our weight, divide it in half, and for a pregnant or nursing mom, it should be that number multiplied by 1.2 approximately. So, if we say, I guess rough estimates might be about 75 grams for, it's hard to give a number because our weight, again, is in there's so many shapes and sizes of all of us, but trying to look for that, again, your weight, divide it in half, and then multiply it times 1.2. That's a rough estimate of how many grams of protein you need in a day. I don't love getting into the minutia of the numbers, honestly, with my new moms, because it is kind of tedious and sometimes difficult to manage. So I think in general, just thinking about 3 decent servings, meaning a serving, meaning about the size of our hand, 3 and our palm, 3 decent servings of protein a day is what is recommended. So whether it is chicken or beef or turkey or fish, as we talked about before, or eggs, or even vegetarian or plant-based sources, whether it's tofu or beans, like black beans or lentils. These are excellent sources of protein, both animal and plant-based, and trying to focus on that about 3 servings a day would be really helpful.
And that leads me right into our last question, which relates to dieting. A lot of moms I've noticed are very anxious or very ready to jump into dieting right away after delivery. What types of recommendations do you have for dieting after delivery?
Yeah, first of all, let's just say that breastfeeding helps with that whole process of getting our body back. And a lot of new moms don't like to hear this, and I am a mom. I have kids as well, and I didn't like to hear this either. But it really, if it takes 9 months to put it on, sometimes it takes 9 months to take it off. I really use that strategy to kind of provide some comfort with our new moms. The dieting, though, and meaning creating a calorie deficit, can actually stress our production of breast milk. So making sure that we are taking care of our body, feeding it as it needs to be fed, meaning like having 3 decent meals a day and not restricting too much is really a crucial part. Whether it's a C-section or a vaginal delivery, our body is recovering and healing. And in that, we need sufficient protein, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals to help our body kind of get back to where it was. So I really encourage our new moms to kind of feed themselves of what they feel they need to, and being a little bit more gentle on themselves, because it is insanely frustrating to gain weight with pregnancy, but having patience in this whole process to take it back off is equally important.
Well, thank you so much, Lara. I learned so much today.
I'm so glad.
I hope that our viewers have also learned a lot. And what I really love about your messaging, I love the individualized approach, and I love the really the patience, right? That we need to be patient with ourselves and take time to recover after delivery.
Most definitely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely. And if people want to learn more, they can go to feednutrition.com and they can meet you and all of your partners and see the wonderful individualized approach that you take with your family. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was nice to chat.